What's up, people up here at the hub of the Fantasy Football Podcast? You got your main host, Uriah, and I'm standing here with Mr. Foley and Evan. How y'all doing?
Hey, all right. Gotta let y'all know.
No,
Today's sponsor.
No, I have the sponsor. I've already written this down.
I got a sponsor too.
Oh, okay. Well, let's just go. Go ahead.
We got 3 presenting sponsors for today's podcast. We're growing rapidly. First sponsor is Underdog Beer. Today's show is brought to you by Underdog Beer, the only beer brewed specifically for fantasy football losers. Perfect for those late season nights when your first round pick is on IR, your sleeper is still asleep, and your team is officially tanking. Underdog Beer, because if your team's not winning, at least you can still get hammered.
Is that a real thing?
Absolutely, it is real that I made it up.
Oh, okay, perfect.
Well, mine is Preparation H for all the butthurt fantasy football players this week. I have a losing record. I don't care. So, thank you, Preparation H, for cooling our butts off.
Well, see, I was expecting that we were going to come in here and do sponsorships for things that we run. So I'll do one. It's what I run. I just wanted to give a quick shout out to the Hub South Pick'em pool. I am the king of this pick'em. Mr. Garland's got a close second to me, and Dr. Lee right behind him. But I am the pick'emest pickemer of the whole damn pool.
See, I was going to ask if you were the leader because you're the only one participating.
Nah, I'm not the only one participating. There's a few of us.
Yeah, but we're so far behind because you got started early, I guess. Anyway, what y'all think about this week? I came in and I was like, Thursday, pretty decent. And then Sunday was like, this is gross. And then Sunday night, I was like, this is awesome. And then Buffalo came on, and I was like, ooh, this is awesome until, they beat the brakes off of everybody and put backups in. And then, of course, the Bengals game was awesome. Yeah. So talk to me, guys. What's going on?
I felt pretty good all week in this league. I was pretty much ahead most of the time. The Bengals game was completely inconsequential to this league, but it absolutely ruined me in my other league, and so I'm still a little salty about that. But I got incredibly lucky this week. Nothing but backups.
Well, we're going to get on to that about his miracle that he had happen. I mean, 70 points with 2 players. A little ridiculous, and I hope to God he's not hoping for those same things to happen.
Not at all. I recognize that was fully a fluke. However, it's still a W, man.
You take it. Foley, what about you?
Yeah, I thought there were some games this week that it was like if you had erased the first 2 weeks of the season and just went back to week 1 and you said, this is what's going to happen in week 3, you'd say, yeah, okay, that makes sense.
Yes.
So things, I think, are starting to get back on track. There were some surprises, but a lot of things just felt a little bit more normal. My big pick of the week was the Panthers getting their first win, and lo and behold, they did. I think that there's something to be said for Uriah apology tour coming between. First, he talked about Kyler Murray. Then he talked about Jaden Daniels. I mean, come on, he's the anti QB whisperer.
No, look. We can get into this, but Mr. AR right back where he's supposed to be at. That's where he's going to live this year. William, Caleb, squirrel finds a nut every now and then. That was his game. It's only going to get worse. Everybody's going to start him this week, and he's going to bomb again this week. Yeah. And then Jaden, that's not going to happen again.
I liked the way he looked, man. I watched all of that game. I think of all of the rookies, he
really Jaden's better than.
I don't know. I like the way he looked. I really did. And I think it's only up for him, really.
It's him and Malik Neighbors for Rookie of the Year right now. I mean, it's got to be. I said it before. I thought that he was the best fit for that Cliff Kingsbury offense. There's a lot you can, offense rather. There's a lot you can criticize about Cliff Kingsbury, but I think he is an above-average coordinator. I thought Chicago should have tried to get him, but they weren't interested in him. He went to Washington. I thought he just put an excellent game plan out there against Cincinnati, and Jaden Daniels looked fantastic in that offense. No, you're right. He's not gonna every week score on every single drive.
No,
that hasn't happened. A game like this hasn't happened since 1950, where there was a score on every single drive. But it's a positive sign.
Well, and I do want to just throw this out here. While I am dogging the quarterbacks, the only one I really truly do not like is Kyler Murray.
Yeah, you're wrong about him.
I will die on this hill,
Yeah,
but
sure.
when I say what I say, it's what I believe as far as fantasy football. You know what I mean? And we'll see. So let's start on the games. Cowboys and the Giants. Who wants to go first? I mean, what can we talk about the Cowboys?
On paper, the Cowboys blow this game out of the water. On paper, they do. I'm a little worried for them, to be honest. I was so hyped when the Saints blew them out because I thought, that means the Saints are good. But then you keep watching them this season,
They're
and
not good.
what is happening in Dallas?
Look, the only thing I can say about Dallas, and this is going to go right into all the other teams we're going to talk about. People are not playing their players, and we're week 5, and we're starting to warm up. Like Foley said earlier, this would be week 1 if you played your people
Right.
all 4 games. And this is the crap we're getting. We're getting substandard football, and hopefully last week leads up to this week, and we're kicking on all cylinders.
Yeah, I mean, for me on the Cowboys side, it's Dak, it's Lamb, it's Jake Ferguson. That's it. You know, I'm not interested in the running backs at all. I don't know what to make of it. I said, I think last week, you can drop Rico Dowdle. Now he's starting to come up a little bit, but I still don't want him.
He's not going to stay up. That mess in that backfield, I'm with you. I don't want a single piece of that.
Yeah, no. But obviously Lamb and Ferguson looked pretty good last week, I think. I mean, is the tight end market what it is? Ferguson's a solid start for you. On the Giants side, I'll go ahead and roll out Danny Dimes this week. I would start him this week. I would also start Malik Neighbors, of course. That's an auto start at this point. I mean, he's the only receiver as far as Daniel is concerned. Like, the only one in a Giants jersey out there is Malik Neighbors. But then, he's not my start of the week, but Devin Singletary, that Cowboys run defense is atrocious.
Yeah.
It is so bad this year. It's kind of weird how bad it is, but I love it for Devin Singletary. I've got him. I am squeezing him into my lineup however I can.
I just traded for him for this game mostly. I'm excited for it.
Yeah, I'm worried about Singletary beyond this week, but love it this week.
Well, I got Dak, and also let me just talk about my predictions. I am well above 50% on my predictions, well above that. Matthew, listen, if I say the man's going to have 75 yards and a touchdown, like I have said a lot on this podcast, it's going to be 75 and a touchdown or really close. So if I say it's what it's going to be, that's what it is.
Let me ask you something about that real
What's
quick.
up?
Do you just get the over-under line on everyone?
No.
No? Okay.
No, I mean, no, I really don't. I don't even look at any of that. What I used to do is I would go on there and I would be like, okay, Matthew Berry says it, blah, blah, blah. Forget those guys. They know just as much as we do. I'm telling you guys, just trust me.
Oh, I know more than Matthew Berry.
I feel like I do. I feel like I do too. So, Dak, I got him for 275 and 1. I usually start with the quarterback,
Yep.
Foley, and then the running back. Who knows? I have Rico for 50. That's it. And I got CD for 75 and 1. On the Giants, I got Daniel for 225 and 1, Singletary for 75 and 1, and Neighbors for 101.
Yeah, I think Joe will take that for Neighbors. Yeah, no, I mean, what you just said for Daniel Dimes, that would indicate a start to me.
Daniel
Dimes.
It's extremely formal.
Mr. Dimes.
Daniel Dimes is my father, thank you.
But no, if that's the stat line he ends up with, you'll be glad to have started him.
Absolutely. So let's go with the Broncos versus the Jets. So, do we have the sinking ship with the rising ship?
Yeah, I think this is one of the grossest games for me.
Yeah, it's
I think anything with the Broncos is going to be gross this year.
Yeah, for sure. Not a single Bronco starting for me, including Cortland Sutton. This is probably I've got my bust lineup of the week that I'm going to get into, and he's probably the least controversial member of the bust of the week lineup. Cortland Sutton, not going to do much of anything, I don't think. And then for me, it's on the Jets side, it's
Start your starters.
It's Rodgers, Hall, and Wilson. Nothing else. I don't want Lazard. I don't want any of the. I don't want Braylon Allen. Just give me the big three.
I'm warming up to Braylon Allen. I think that he might be worth something soon. The split is it's interesting to me. I don't know why it's actually working out this way, but if you watch that kid run, he's got a strong form that I think
it's weird.
It's worth watching.
It's weird. I will say this for Braylon Allen. When I watched him, his college tape, he was so slow. It was like
and
the
now
tape
he's a
was slowed
speed
down.
back.
Yeah, now he's
I know.
actually really quick. It's weird to see the difference, and he's running routes. Like he's running more routes than Breece Hall. And I think that is interesting.
I tell you, the thing that bothers me on the Broncos is terrible offense.
All of it.
Yeah,
Their defense isn't. I mean, it's bad, but it's not. I mean, you got Surtain.
Yeah, Pat Surtain.
And, I mean, he's going to shut down somebody.
Yep.
So, I mean, I'll just throw it out there. Knicks, 175. Running backs, total 75. And Reynolds for 50.
Yeah, Josh Reynolds might be the wide receiver one on that offense. I will say, though, is there a grosser backfield in the NFL than the Denver's right now?
No.
I mean, there was a guy I never even heard of leading in carries this week. It wasn't even Audric Estime. It was a guy I had legit
and
never
say I
heard
like
of.
Audric, but
I like Audric too.
On the Jet side, now look, I probably will be the minority here, but I got Rodgers for 300 and 2, Hall for 75 and 1, and Wilson. He's got to show me something this week, and it's going. I'm saying 101, and if he doesn't hit this or close, drop him.
Ooh,
wow!
Drop him. I kid. That was a joke, but I mean he's got to be.
Got to do something.
I think he's on the table for starting other people over him, as opposed to keeping him a must start in your team.
I smell what you're stepping in. I don't know if I agree yet.
Okay.
I think it's totally reasonable to have expected him to already be at the point that we need him to be this week.
Yes.
For sure.
So, jumping into a good one, the Vikings and the Packers. Give me some of that Sam Darnold love.
That's wild, man. I'm happy for him.
Look, I will say this: the stat line was trash except for the TDs.
He got them TDs.
I mean, he got them though.
He loves him some TDs. I mean, look, I got to throw out the caveats. We've had our 3 good games of Sam Darnold. I've been on this. We've had our 3 good games, and the ginger theory that I brought up last week. There is another ginger quarterback in the NFL who is going to take all the ginger power, and his name is Andy Dalton.
No.
And Darnold got hurt.
He
Darnold,
is
his
healthy.
first play back after he got hurt, I watched that knee buckle as he threw. I'm still starting Darnold. Don't get me wrong.
I told you last podcast, Pro Bowl.
He might be.
It's coming.
Comeback player of the year. He's got
Oh, absolutely. I mean, absolutely in the front.
Yeah.
As long as nobody dies this year.
Yeah. DeMar Hamlin. Did Hamlin win, or did they give it to Joe Flacco? I think they gave it to Flacco.
Did they give it to Flacco?
I think they gave it to Flacco,
Really?
even though
Insult.
Flacco did not come back from death.
Yeah, he came back to life.
I mean,
He
that
just
was like
came
the
from the
ultimate
couch.
comeback.
Yeah.
So I don't know about their standards for that award, but yeah, Darnold's got to be the front runner. He is a start for me, but temper your expectations. There are a lot of factors going against him. There's a lot of bad juju, I would say. Andy Dalton might have just ruined him. I will say this shouldn't be a surprise to anyone necessarily, but on my boom lineup of the week, wide receiver Justin Jefferson, I think it is a good game for him. I like the matchup.
Well, unlike our previous friend on the Jets, Garrett, JJ is an always start.
Always, even coming from the man who was like, "Oh, Sam Darnold can't give it to."
I said it last week. I'm giving it to him. I am Team Vikings. I am raising that flag. Let's go for the NFC north this year.
I can't wait to see what quarterback you're trashing this week because so far it's been Darnold, it's been Kyler, it's been Daniels. Who's it going to be? But anyways, other Vikings I'm interested in. Aaron Jones. Revenge game.
Revenge game. He's looking good. That's an easy start.
Yeah.
I agree.
On the Packers side for me, I mean, if Jordan Love plays, which it looks like he's going to, I'll throw him out there. Josh Jacobs.
I feel like it's must start also in our QB heavy league.
Yeah.
You got to.
Yeah, for a Superflex. I wouldn't start him in a normal league, but Superflex, I think he's worth the risk. He's got that high upside. And then Josh Jacobs. And with Love back, I'll throw Jaden Reed in there as well.
Oh, man.
Now,
Look.
I'm sorry. Since we're on the Packers, though, Uriah, we got to talk about your tight end situation. Are you really putting Tucker Kraft out there?
Look, man, it is bad on Team Dong. I mean, we are suffering
in the
over
trenches.
Here. I mean, exactly. We're digging out. We're trying to find a way. Tucker, thought would be that bottom rung to help us up the ladder, but I don't know now.
Come to the Emporium.
I made a trade for the three people at this table, and nothing was done.
I hit accept.
No, I bailed on it because I needed Tony Pollard. I just couldn't give him up.
And then you see what happens.
I would revisit that trade and
you
still hit accept.
You are the Brett Favre of karma. You guys probably won't get that if you're not from Mississippi, but karma comes for everybody. So on the Vikings, I got Darnold 225-1. I think he's definitely going to fall back this weekend because I really like the linebackers for the Packers. But I feel like he will fall. I still think the Vikings win. Aaron Jones, I think, is going to run wild, just like y'all said. I got him for 101 and Jefferson for 101. As far as the Packers quarterback, I didn't know who it would be, but I got 225-1. Jacobs, I think he's going to be 101. And the wide receiver, I think, is Yuck. And much like a lot of these teams, I don't know who you start in this instance because I feel like all three are a start if you have that person.
I think it's just Jaden Reed, and that's it. The other thing I think does need to be addressed, do you start fading anyone playing against the Vikings? That defense right now, what Brian Flores is doing, is wrecking quarterbacks. We saw what they did to Brock Purdy. We saw what they did to C.J. Stroud. Can't remember who they played in Week 1 now, but I mean that is one of the most confusing schemes. Certainly the most confusing pressure package in the NFL right now.
I feel like it's sort of like Garrett. I feel like you have to start your starters, your go-to guys, as long as they're producing.
Yeah.
Like in Garrett's situation, if I had him and I had somebody equal, like with a better matchup, I would definitely start them, over that person.
That's fair. Yeah, for sure. Always start your studs. I'm starting to talk myself out of the Jordan Love start of these guys who are kind of fringe starters for you. If they're up against, especially quarterback, but pass catchers as well, if they're up against this crazy Vikings defense, until they show something different, you might just want to fade them because he's making life hell on these guys.
I definitely wouldn't start. The only person personally from any sort of type of fantasy roster would be Jacobs on the Packers. That would be the only person I start.
Speaking about quarterbacks, what are you going to do this week there, bud?
Boy, I'm glad you asked because I am fully embracing the one quarterback life.
Woo! We have Levis.
I'm still open to a trade for Levis. However, even if I had Levis on my team this week,
you wouldn't start him?
Probably wouldn't start him. I'm going to embrace this life. Living dangerously.
Well, welcome to the loss column. Yeah. So, moving on, we'll have the Saints and the Falcons. Ooh, what about those Saints, Evan? I mean, was it because you weren't here last week?
That must have been it. That had to have been it. And I was also, I don't remember what exactly I was doing when the game was on, but I turned it on right at halftime, and I had to go do something else. And when I came back, it was right at the point where three of our defensive backs all ran face first into each other and let Dallas Goedert get a 60 friggin' yard catch. And then that was the game. And I knew that was going to be the game right then. I like to think that maybe the Eagles are, like we've been saying, now they're hitting their stride. They're going to keep doing what the Eagles have done for a couple of years now. And I don't think it diminishes from the Saints at all. I'm still, if I had any of them, I'm still going with who I'm going with. My other league, I got Chris Olave. He's not going out of my lineup. I'm still sticking with Kamara, obviously. I wouldn't have ever started Derek Carr, but even he hasn't been terrible lately. I still like the Saints. The Saints. I got them winning this week.
Who's your starting running back? I mean, wide receiver for the Saints. Who's your number one receiver on the Saints?
It has looked like Shaheed is the guy to go with.
Are you trusting that?
Most week,
Not anymore.
I don't think that's what it has looked like up until recently. Olave is now starting to build that rapport. I'm putting Olave number one on that Saints pass catching.
I was wondering where you would come from on that.
Yeah, I hard agree. Yeah, it's Olave. I am not interested in starting Shaheed this week.
What about tight end?
I'm not starting any of the tight ends.
Okay.
Don't give me Hunter.
I was just wondering
Austin
since Taysom out. I was just wondering.
None of them. I don't want anything to do with that tight end room.
So Kamara is it?
Kamara, Olave, Carr. Superflex league. I'm all for
Carr's a QB2 if you're doing Superflex. He's absolutely worth a role in that.
For sure, he is.
You can count on something out of him, hopefully.
So, I will say about the Saints, I mean, I brought this up last week. I didn't think it would be in this game, but I brought up that the weakness of the Saints would be if they had to play from behind a little bit, which they weren't that far behind, but where they had to send 5 out on a route, spread offense. That's not something they've had to do, and it turns out they're not good at that. When they can play in their heavy personnel, they look good. I think they can do that against the Falcons and be pretty successful. On the left side.
Well, let me hit. I got Carr for 225 and 1. I got Kamara for 100, and I got Olave for 75 and 1. And the Falcons take it away. Don't give me Ray Ray.
I don't want to about it.
I don't want to hear Ray Ray.
Here's the thing.
Much like Mike Evans, you are banned on this podcast from Ray Ray and Mike Evans.
I don't know what it is about the Falcons. I mean, I'm not a Falcons fan by any means. Man, I love the players
I think you might be a little bit of a Falcons
He's a homer. He's got to be close.
A little bit.
I love the players that they have. I mean, I'm not a Cousins fan. I think that Cousins this week is the last quarterback I would start. I have him as QB 24, which for me is the cutoff. But I would start him. Bijan, put him in that boom column this week. He's going to be one of the top running backs of the week. London, sure, still. Pitts, he hasn't lived up to things.
He hasn't lived up to things in how many years?
And never will.
1,000-yard rookie season. 1,000-yard rookie season.
Yeah, with no touchdowns.
He was great at Florida if they can suit him up in orange and blue.
How many touchdowns did he have as a rookie?
I think he had like 8.
No, he didn't.
No. Did he not?
No. Was it like 3, 2?
I don't know. Anyways, I will say on Kyle Pitts, he's not a great fit for this offense in some ways. However, tight end sucks, and he does okay. It's not like he does better than most tight ends.
You're right. If you are looking for 6 to 8 points out of your tight end, he'll fill that hole.
I'm pretty sure he was a top 5 tight end last week.
I think he finished with 8 points last week.
Here's what I will say about Ray Ray, because I've got to always give my Ray Ray takes.
What? Just what's that say right there in 2021?
1 touchdown.
One
touchdown. All right,
8-1. Let's
1,000 yards though. 1,000 yards. Can't diminish that.
8.9 last week.
Can't
4
diminish.
points the week before. 10 points the week before.
Look, I'm gonna go ahead and say this: if anybody in fantasy football land ever this year, you cannot sit there and go, "Oh, my tight end's guaranteed 12."
No, there's no one. There's nobody.
Look, it's all been just janky tight end play. I mean, I'm talking like you said, 6-7 points. That's what your tight end's gonna get.
All you're looking for is 3 for 32, and if you're lucky, they get a touchdown.
If you don't have last year's Travis Kelce, yeah, you're right. Then maybe you catch a touchdown, you get up above that 10-point mark. But either way, I don't like him. I don't want to start him, and I would never draft him.
Look,
start Pitts. Don't start Ray McLeod. To anyone listening, you should have Ray McLeod maybe on your bench, depending on how deep your league is. I mean, the thing about Atlanta is, as they are going to progress through this season, if their offense is going to take their next step, McLeod has to be a part of it. Like, all kidding aside, he is their inside guy on the dagger concepts. That they run a ton of these dagger routes.
How are we on?
He does the inside breaking route. I'm just saying.
I did think we put a ban on that.
I thought so. Look, I will say this: Kamara will have more fantasy points than Bijan this week.
I'm not with
I like
it. Nope,
that.
nope. I'll take Bijan.
Look, I'm calling it.
I like that.
Throw it out there.
Bijan RB1. I like this matchup.
Overall,
for
RB1?
Oh, RB1 for the week.
Oh no!
It's bold.
All right,
I don't
Evan,
see it.
Evan,
I don't see that.
the field or Bijan?
The field or
The
Bijan?
field or Bijan?
Yeah, taking the field.
I mean, that's the safe bet, I guess.
Well, I mean,
But I'll take Bijan. No, I'm a man of my convictions. I'm going Bijan.
not only the field, but Kamara in this game will have more points. Also, I didn't say it. I got 225 and 1 for Cousins, 75. That's it on Bijan. And I guess, much like Garrett Wilson, I'm going to say Drake London this week for 75 and 1.
He does just enough for you, I think.
Yeah.
He's not going to win you any weeks, but he's not going to lose you a week.
FTF.
He reminds me of Brandon Ayuk on my team. Yeah. Anyway, so we'll move on to the Eagles and the Buccaneers. Who wants to hit that Eagles first?
I mean, Evan's the one who has
He should
the
be upset.
heartbreak right now.
Go ahead,
So.
Evan. Hit us.
You know, man, it just looked like we had it, is all I'm saying. And
Which quarter would we be going off of that?
it's just, anyway. What are you going to... What do you have to question about the Eagles at this point? This is one of those teams. You got Jalen, you're
I feel like they're
starting Saquon. Is AJ going to be back this week? Probably not. Devontae, he's probably out this week. Maybe my flyer on Jahan Dotson will pay off for 12 points this week, but it probably won't. I mean, you're going with your starters and anyone who's questionable is only if you've got them, especially out of this Eagles squad.
I would definitely say Hurts and Barkley are the only two people to start on the Eagles this week.
I'm
I'm
going with Goddard.
Well, once again,
tight end.
you
What
heard.
are you going to do?
Yeah, you heard my tight end thing. I mean,
Yeah.
Goddard is you got him, you started. The only people, it's like, 11 down on tight ends. Good luck.
Yeah.
I mean, Devontae Smith, I think he's going to play.
You think so?
I think he'll play, and if he plays, then yeah, he's a starter.
If he plays, then I'm definitely lining him up. He did pretty well before he got his bell rang last week.
Yeah, I think he's on track to play. Anything else on the Eagles before we go to the Bucks?
I got Hurts for 275 and one of those will probably be a rushing touchdown. And I got Barkley for 101. And the wide receiver, whoever the starter is, the number one, I feel like that's 101, whoever that will be. Whether it's Goddard or it's Jahan.
I don't see it being Jahan.
I don't either.
No,
But
no.
I feel like, I had to back up my stat.
Sure.
I mean, 275.
Sure.
Somebody's gonna get some
Somebody's
receptions.
catching something. Yeah.
So I'm saying it's going to either be Dijon or Goddard.
I will say, RB2 of the week, Saquon Barkley.
I'm fine with that.
Yeah, I'll give you that.
I'm fine with that.
And I know that's not a spicy take, but on the Bucs side,
Where's that Baker love?
you know what? I said I needed one more game out of him before I'm back on that bandwagon.
Are you on?
No, he didn't give me anything last week. So I'm still undecided on whether Folytics is going to approve of Baker going forward. However,
I would feel safe to say that Baker is in the same category now, and I'm one eyes closed as Justin Fields.
Okay.
He is a game manager, and that is it. Foley, I know
it's
you
an
love him.
interesting comp.
I know you love him, but talk me out of it.
No, it's an interesting comp. I'm higher on Justin Fields than you are right now.
It's Justin
Fields
Fields.
Look, but
We'll get into the Steelers. But I mean Baker, I keep having him right next to Geno Smith. I mean,
which I feel is
pre-draft-
also a
pre-draft I
game
had him
manager.
right next to Geno Smith. I think that's still kind of where I have him. I think he's a start this week. The problem for me, though, Godwin and Evans both went on the injury report today. Evans dealing with a knee injury, Godwin dealing with a neck injury.
Ooh.
I think this is par for the course for Evans. Like, he has these just kind of,
Yeah,
they
little
throw
things.
something on him. He
Godwin's
takes a
hurt
maintenance
his
day.
neck a couple of times throughout his
That might be
career,
right.
I believe.
Um,
Last time I had him in a league, I recall him going out for weeks with a neck injury.
It's concerning. If one of them doesn't play, then holy hell, the other one's going to do great.
See, I
that's
disagree. I feel like the Bucks are going to get throttled. And say I got, and you're going to hate me for this, but I got Baker for 201.
I think Baker's a start, and I think Godwin and Evans are a start. It's now the running backs are where
Well,
Evan and
that
I were
was-
talking
When
about.
I
Bucky.
bring this up,
Put
yeah.
Bucky in for 75.
No,
I don't
thank you.
75 for Bucky.
Like, what's going on with Rashad? As high as his ADP was, as much as everybody was up on this guy, what's happening there? And like, I don't trust Bucky all that much either. But I do feel like he has a higher upside than Rashad.
He for sure has a higher upside. I just don't want either of them right now because it is this sort of equal split, and
Well,
it's not like they have the upside of like J.K. Dobbins with the Chargers in
Sure.
that equal split. Like, it's just kind of gross.
if this was, like I said, any normal fantasy land player, I wouldn't start anybody on the Buccaneers this
No,
week.
I would start Evans, Godwin, and Superflex Baker.
If Evans is not hurt, I would start him, and that was it. It's
You're
just me
down
personally.
on Godwin, and I'm having a hard time understanding the logic behind being so down on Godwin. Honestly, I mean, I'm the Evans guy. There's no doubt about that. So far, Godwin is the number one, and Evans is the number two.
My thing has always been with Godwin and Evans, the two of them as one. I always seem to fall on the wrong one.
Yeah.
Whichever one I end
Well,
up with is not going to be the
So I
one
just
that
always
does
go with
it.
Evans.
The reason I was looking was, I mean, I'm thinking about the front four of the Eagles and their defensive backs. That's where I'm coming from.
Their DBs don't scare me. I mean, they got. I know they had. Their
I mean,
week last
Slay.
week against
I
the
mean,
Saints.
Slay is Slay.
Did you
My
watch? Did you watch Slay get burnt
I'm not- look,
against the Falcons?
Listen, everything happens for one. Everybody has their moment, and I'm just look. Don't start anybody on the Bucks. That's just my take.
I would be staying away from him myself. But then again, like we've been saying all along, if you got Chris Godwin, if you got Mike Evans, what are you going to do? You're going to put in Amari Cooper over one of those guys?
Amari Cooper is having a better year than both of them.
By the way,
I'm just saying. He's
speaking
number.
of
I think
this-
he's what, third?
I don't know
The
about
third.
that. I don't know about that because he ain't done much.
Look it up. I'm telling you, number 3 wide receiver for the season, I believe.
34.
by the way, on a personal note,
That's what Sleeper says. Right?
Sleeper's trash.
Wide receiver 34, number
Yeah,
95
that's-
overall.
that sounds more right.
No.
He had less than 10 points in the first 2 games combined. He had a big week last week. Looked fantastic, and I was happy for it. But
Uriah's just having a senior moment.
I'm
What
not,
I- what
I'm
I
telling
will
you, I'm
say-
not having to see. I'm no.
On a personal note, AJ Brown, please come back. I know you've had your mental health issues in the past. We are here to support you, but please come back. We need you. We need you.
they sure don't look the same without him. Devontae's doing his best.
Neither does my fantasy team.
Yeah.
We don't look the same without AJ Brown in the lineup. We need him back. You've going back to your rookie year. You've been a Fullalytics favorite. Just come on back home. It's okay. It's a safe space.
After much deliberation, I may strike that on on Cooper. I for some reason, I guess I did have a senior moment, and I started smelling toast, and
so-
my arm started going numb. So hey,
I
yeah,
own
don't,
it.
yeah, okay.
That's why I feel so confident
Okay.
in my analysis. I've got it, and it's not been beautiful.
Moving on to the Bengals and the Panthers. Come on, Bengals! It's looking like a toast session up in here.
Andy Dalton revenge game.
Oh, no.
Revenge game.
This is 24-26 showdown.
I think so.
I like it. I like it.
I do appreciate that, with Burrow and Mahomes. I appreciate that my 2 quarterbacks have finally realized that they are supposed to be two of the top 3 QBs in the game right now and have actually played some decent games. I hope they can keep that up. I still have my questions about the Bengals. They still
Well,
they're not where they should be by any stretch.
I am putting my stats where my mouth is.
Mhm.
I got Burrows for 302. I got the running back who knows what's going on with that. My boy Chase. I mean, we don't know. So I got the total. Well, I got the leaders going to have 75. And then Chase, 101.
I would start Zach Moss. Yeah, as much as I've badmouthed the Bengals backfield,
I would not start either one of them.
I would
That's
start
another-
Moss.
I'm just wary of committees altogether. But in that game, I felt like Chase Brown was way more explosive. I felt like he was hitting holes better. He was getting longer stretches. But again, I'm not looking at either of
I
those.
agree with half of that.
See, I agree with Evan's take. I'm in the same boat. I feel like Chase is better, but I wouldn't start either one of them.
So I agree with half of what Evan said. I think that Chase Brown is more explosive. I think that Zach Moss is better at finding the holes.
Okay.
And I think that that's what most coaches are going to lean on when they're looking at who to put out more often. I think Zach Moss is more trustworthy in this matchup, especially. I mean, if they do get ahead, which is a distinct possibility that the Panthers come back down to earth and they just get a big lead, that's going to favor Zach Moss.
I see him definitely getting more of the goal line work on Zach Moss if it comes to that.
Yeah. Are we starting T. Higgins?
Gosh, man,
I'm not.
Look, I feel like No, I wouldn't.
I'm not doing it.
I would have to wait and see it. Do I want to start T. Higgins? Yes. But I am getting the bad feeling of just like Brandon Ayuk, we're going to need 3 or 4 games before he hits T. Higgins.
Yeah, I'm not starting Higgins. I was just curious what other people thought. Chase is back, though. I think you mentioned that earlier.
Yes.
Jamar Chase is back.
Yes.
It's
He's
good.
100%.
It's week
Jamar
one
Chase.
if they had played preseason.
Exactly. Panthers, let's come on back down to earth. Foley, I know your insatiable love for Dalton. It's got to stop.
It's not even that I love Dalton. It's that I was higher on the Panthers than most people going into the year, and
It's
after
nice.
1 week of Dalton, it's like this is what I was
This is
looking
what
for.
it should have
Yeah,
been.
yeah. That they made all these improvements to the team. This is what it should be.
And we will never see that the
We
rest
might
of the
not.
season.
No, look, I mean, the backup QB bump is
Yeah.
a real, like, one-time thing, and over time you can lose that, so it's possible Dalton comes back down to earth. That said, I would start Andy Dalton in Superflex.
I would too. I got it for 275 and 1. So, I mean,
I'm working in, all right, so
the Bengals pass defense is atrocious.
It is, it really is, and that's why I also would say, hey, let's see if Deontay Johnson can repeat what he did last week.
I feel like it's a dart throw on the wide receivers. I would hope it's Deontay, but who knows?
I hope it's Leggett, personally, because I have Xavier Leggett.
And that's what I'm afraid of. I'm afraid that you will not know for the whole season.
Right now, though, it looks like Deontay Johnson. Adam Thielen is out for who knows how long. But I think Deontay Johnson is the receiver to own and start for now. And in that backfield, I'm going to talk to you about the joys of going one quarterback. Chuba Hubbard is in the lineup this week. Should have had him in there last week. He's in there this week. And I don't know that he's going to have another 20-point game in him. But he's always had that ability. He's had those weeks throughout his career where
He
he
can
can.
surprise you. And
Yeah.
to be perfectly fair, all the experts have been saying since week 1, hey, Chuba is somebody you should be looking for. I didn't buy into it, but it would have helped out a lot last week.
Well-
had I done it. But let's see if that.
I feel
continues.
like Hubbard is going to be 75 and 1. But saying that, I honestly feel it's going to be either it's going to be like 60 something or 80 something. That's the reason I hit 75.
60 on 55
Yeah,
carries.
that exactly. That's exactly. Anybody else on this game?
I think that does it for me. I mean, the only thing else I'll say is Jonathan Brooks is eligible next week, so we can look forward to how that messes things up.
I think it's going to mess tremendously up. On that game, I'm just saying, and I hate to say this, but I feel like if you have a wide receivers on the Panthers, you start them this week because, like I said, after Monday night, oh man, that was garbage. I mean, that was just sad.
Yeah.
All right, so moving on, we'll go with the Jaguars and the Texans. Somebody talked me off of the benching of T. Law to never come back.
Okay, I got takes on this.
T. Law and Bryce Young are almost identical.
Yeah, their stats are more or less the exact same. I
I've
think
got
in certain categories, T-Law's a
So
little bit worse.
Yeah, talk me out of it, Foley. You got me. Go ahead.
I'll talk you out of it. Trevor Lawrence is too damn talented. Trevor Lawrence has shown you things that Bryce Young never showed you. Trevor Lawrence had year before last, and I know that's going back a bit. He had a run the second half of that season that was pretty much identical to what we saw from Jordan Love the second half of last year. It was elite level play that we know he is capable of. Now that said, I want Doug Peterson out of there. If I'm a
He's a
Jags
garbage
fan,
coach.
he's a terrible coach. He is not doing them any favors. We've talked about it all year with how that team is built up with these vertical pass catchers, and it's in a year where everyone has gone to two high safeties and to take away those vertical shots. At some point, though, Evan Ingram will come back. Maybe it's this week, and they're going to need to rely on that underneath ability that he can give them. And as soon as they do, I think Lawrence gets better.
And I should have said this on the Bengals, but one of the things I noticed about the Bengals was they took full control of this mid drop-off pass, better than any team I've seen so far. And the
There's some that
Redskins,
are better, but
and the Redskins. Both in that game, there was a lot more underneath stuff, and I liked it.
That's the way to live. I mean,
Yeah.
we'll get into the Bills, but I think that the Bills moved on from a true X receiver in Stephon Diggs, and they replaced them with a ton of guys who are all basically slot receivers. They're good at the after-the-catch stuff.
Except for Keon
And it's
Coleman.
perfect. Keon Coleman's an after-the-catch guy, too. He's basically a big slot that they're playing out wide. And those guys, and again, we'll get more into the Bills in a bit, but just to say, those guys are all really good at playing in between the zones. And so, yeah, the guys who can do that are what you want this year. And that's not what the Jaguars have. So all that said, I do think Lawrence is worth a start.
Really?
Yeah, I mean it's a super flex league. Look at your other options, I guess.
Okay.
But if your option is that or Will Levis, give me Trevor Lawrence.
Really?
Give me Trevor Lawrence.
Okay, we'll see.
I think the elite upside is there for him. As much as I do like Will Levis, don't get me wrong, but the elite upside is there for him. Give me Trevor Lawrence. Give me Travis Etienne.
All starts.
And give me Evan Ingram. No wide receivers.
Okay.
If Evan Ingram's back. Yeah.
If Evan Ingram is back, but yeah, for sure.
He's, it would be nice if he was, but what are you going to do? I think, moving to the Texans, I really hope Joe Mixon comes back, and I could sure use me some more Joe Mixon in my life. But I will say, I believe that this is going to be a big Nico week. And I think Nico's going to have himself the week that people have been hoping he's been going to have. I'm high on Nico Collins this week.
Okay. Well, I differ. I got the Jags being the Jags, and I got T-Law for 200, and that's it. I got ETN for 75-1, and I guess the only bright spot would be Brian Thomas, 75.
Not interested in Brian Thomas this week.
I'm not interested in the whole team. You can have them. On the other side, I got Stroud for 225-1, Mixon for 75-1, and Nico for 75-1.
So, Evan, I'm sorry to tell you this, but on my bust of the week lineup, Joe Mixon.
Well, I don't think you could call him a bust because I don't think he's going to play.
You don't think so? I thought he was going to play.
Well, last I read, he was sitting out to practice. It didn't look good. Damian Pierce is also out. So who is it? It's
Cam Akers.
Cam Akers. No, thank you.
And Dare Ogbowale.
Yeah, no, thank you to that. That's part of the reason I think that Nico is going to have a much bigger week. I got him over 75-1. I think it's going to be pushing 100, maybe 2.
Now, I will say, I have Mixon as a bust of the week candidate. That said, if he plays, I'm starting him.
Yeah, of course. if he suits up, I'm gonna line him up because what are my other options? I don't even know. Tony Pollard, David Montgomery. Probably wouldn't start him over those, but I'd start him over Roma Dunze. But anyway.
And Ding Dong, just to say, last week I came on this podcast and I said Oh, I've been so down on the Texans receivers, but this week fire them all up. Give me Tank Dell. Give me
We were wrong. Yes.
Stephon Diggs. Yeah, and I'm going back. I'm reversing it this week. Nico Collins, yes.
That is a surefire start them all then.
Nico Collins,
Foley's
yes.
out of them.
But no thank you to, and you might be right. And no thank you to Stephon Diggs. No thank you to Tank Dell.
I've been down on Diggs all year myself too. I don't like him.
I'll argue against myself here right now though, and say if you watch another problem with the Jags. They run all this man defense, just pure man all the time, no zone whatsoever when everyone else is running zone. And I mean, Tank, if he can avoid press, he can beat the hell out of some man, and Diggs can beat press. So there is that. However, they're both sits for me.
All right, so moving on to the Steelers and the Colts. Now, Foley, Evan, I have been on this hill the whole year with AR-15. Am I right?
No.
I mean, I
don't even know.
I got like 160 yards a game saying that I am.
Yeah,
so
I don't even know anymore. And I Foley was telling me before the draft that he wasn't up on Pittman this year, and I was like, nah, I think that he's worked it out with AR. I think that they're going to get something. I don't feel that anymore. I don't dislike Anthony Richardson. I think that he has much more potential than he has lived up
he's
to.
probably a heck of a guy, and I would love to go hang with him. But the boy can't pass.
I mean, look, he can pass. He's inconsistent with passing.
He's
inconsistent.
He'll hit some beauties, but he'll also throw up some ducks.
For sure he can.
I would say that he can't pass.
I'm
just saying.
He can't pass consistently. I mean, look, I wasn't high on Richardson going into the year, to be clear, from a fantasy perspective.
I know, I'm just joking.
Yeah, he wasn't someone that I was after, but I think I hate to always say, oh, if you've drafted him, you got to start him, because that can be a fallacy sometimes. But with Richardson specifically, if you've got him, it's because you know that upside that he possesses, and he's going to have weeks this year where he wins people the week. And I think you just got to embrace that volatility. On the other hand, and these are both quarterbacks that Chris owns, him and Fields. I think they're both kind of Chris has a wealth of quarterbacks, so he's going to have to start. He's going to have to sit somebody. But I think Fields is startable and Richardson is startable.
Tom Brady. I just noticed that.
He does.
Look, I will go out on my own, and like I said, I'll stand on this hill. I feel like out of the quarterbacks this year, the running quarterbacks are terrible quarterbacks. You do not want them on your team.
Tell that to Jaden Daniels.
I told you I'll stay on this hill. Caleb is not a running quarterback.
Caleb's barely a quarterback. I'm still so mad about this.
That's me. Fields is a running quarterback. Not startable. AR-15, not startable. Kyler Murray, not startable. Like I said, I am on this hill. I will die with it. I admit it. I may have been wrong, but I think over the whole year I will be right.
What about Lamar?
Lamar, that's different. He's like Michael
top
Vick.
5, and it's gonna go.
He's like Michael Vick. He's like Randall Cunningham. Steve Young. I would honestly put him a little bit different than Steve Young. Tampa, Steve Young.
Interesting. Yeah, no, Lamar is an excellent passer too. Like I think the debate.
I think yes.
But anyways, on this game, for me, Steelers, it's Fields and Pickens. Call it a day. For the Colts, it's Richardson and Taylor. Call it a day.
Okay, I got Fields for 201. I feel like the only person you can start on this team would be Najee for 75, and I don't like it. Pickens, I got 75-1. On the Colts, AR-15, 150. Now here we go. Jonathan Taylor is a must start this week. Give me 101. And for the wide receiver, who knows, I'll say Pierce for 50. That's it.
You're welcome to buy Alec Pierce. He's always.
I dropped him for a reason.
He's
now,
always for sale.
Now let me say this:
back.
if when I dropped him, it was the wrong reason. I should not have dropped him, but I did drop him, so I don't want
him. I think that sums it up. The only thing I will add on Najee Harris, PSA. Once again, I said this in week 1, and I am here saying it again in week 4. If you have Najee Harris in your super flex spot and you have Geno Smith in your bench spot, whoever that might be,
Not a great
you
move.
should switch that out.
Not a good move.
All right, moving on. Here we go. This is going to be the Rams and the Bears.
Right.
Somebody taught me off this cliff about the Bears wide receiver.
I'm staying away from all of them. I think I have to start Roma Dunze, and he's not going to come even close to last week. But I wish that I could just be away from everything that's going to be on that field.
And I do want everybody to know, I'm sure y'all agree with me, the number one wide receiver for the Bears is DJ Moore.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Listen, I understand, guys. Goddard has a big game. Adunze has a big game. Let's not jump off our regular people to reach for these big numbers because they're not going to happen again, more than likely.
Unless, if you want to come off DJ Moore for Roma Dunze, you can call me. I'm around and I got you.
Are we having a knockoff Emporium here? Don't trust the
I wouldn't call myself
version.
an Emporium. I'm not a crazy person.
It's a team.
Look, hey, I'll be the Temu person this year, and we can take payments.
Go for brand name, baby. Brand name over here.
We'll give you four easy payment options.
That's it. Yeah, DJ Moore's a start for me on the Bears, and Caleb is still a start for me. Not that I think Caleb has been great. Obviously, he hasn't.
Let's super flex.
Super flex. It's Todd has got him, and it's like, who else is Todd going to play as QB2? I don't.
With quarterbacks, it's tough to tell anybody to just in the super flex leagues. It's tough to say anybody is just an absolute don't sit.
I've got a handful that I say bench. I'm benching a starting quarterback for this week to go one QB. However,
I'm barely a quarterback. That team doesn't even count.
However, Caleb Williams is a start for me. And again, I mean, I think his play caller is doing him no favors. At some point, this has got to get a little bit better. I think there's too much talent on the team. And we've seen this with Justin Fields with the Bears over and over and over again, where it's horrible starts to the season, and then they say, "Oh, let's just do the thing we should have been doing all along," and suddenly, oh my God, he's a fantasy superstar. Happened 3 years in a row with Fields.
Here's Roshan, who did great last year, and
I can't believe Matt Eberflus was able to keep that job going into this year, and at some point he's going to realize, oh, here are the things we need to do. DeAndre Swift, I forced him into my lineup last week at the last second. I was like, I'm gonna go for his upside, and it was disappointing. It's not Swift's fault, to be clear. It's again the play calling is atrocious,
and the play calling.
The Bears is what it is.
All right, so I got Caleb for 225 and 1, Swift for 50, and DJ for 75 and 1. I feel like in any league other than Superflex, Moore is the only start on the Bears.
Yeah, outside of Superflex, it's just Moore.
All right, Rams, hit me up.
Ooh, okay.
He is happy and excited. Talk to me.
Who are you?
I'm excited. No, I'm high on nobody. That's the thing, actually.
I'm surprised.
The Rams are probably the team, not the team I'm the lowest on, but one of the teams I'm the lowest on this week for fantasy. Just because, I mean, that wide receiver room, okay, is it DeMarcus Robinson? Is it Tyler Johnson? Is it Tutu Atwell?
I think Tutu, if you're going to take that dice roll, I think Tutu is the one I'd probably land.
I think it's going to be a different one every single week.
Sure.
You're never going to be able to
this week specifically.
Also,
I got Tutu.
Also, let me, and I'm sorry, I meant to say this earlier. As far as DJ Moore on the Bears, hot take. Keenan's fixing to come back. You got Odunze. Trade now, DJ Moore, and get something while you can.
Come to the Emporium if you want to sell DJ Moore.
I'm just telling you. I'm telling you. So go ahead with the Rams. I'm sorry.
Quarterback bust of the week, Matthew Stafford. He's too depleted with weapons. I know it can work, but I don't think it works this week. The Bears defense has been quietly okay. I don't think that Sean McVay has Kyle Shanahan's number, so that kind of answered part of them beating the 49ers last week. I don't think they can repeat that magic. The Rams might still win just because it's the Bears, but I don't think it's a good week for Stafford. I think he's going to have a really disappointing performance. Kyron Williams is the only Ram I would start, full stop.
I agree. Question. Since you're so down on Stafford or AR-15?
AR, no question.
Wow. Okay. Evan, what you got over here?
Between Stafford and AR, I'm going with AR too.
Look, I'm marking this right here just so we'll know. Go ahead, Evan. What you think about the Rams?
Not a lot, dude. I really don't. I guess like we've been covered here. The only wide receiver, only one of those wide receivers might do something. I think it's Tutu this week. Could just as easily be any of those other people that they found at a bus stop outside of SoFi Stadium. I don't know. I don't like any of it. Kyron, sure, I give you Kyron, but again, he's start your stud situation. He's had production and has looked pretty good. That's about it.
All right, I got the only two people I would start would be Stafford. I got him for 250 and 1, and Kyron for 75. Moving on to the Commanders and the Cards, and I think this is going to be a shootout.
Yes, it's highest over under of the week, and I'll go ahead and call it now. Continuing with my boom of the week lineup, you're gonna love this one, Uriah.
Please don't say Murray.
Kyler Murray, quarterback 1, and Marvin Harrison Jr., top 4 wide receiver.
QB1?
Look, guys.
QB1,
Look,
Kyler
guys.
Murray.
There's a moment, and I'm not sure if everybody's been in this position, but there is a moment in life where you get so drunk while walking, you right before you fall, there's this face you make, and I wish I could do a reaction just to the face, but he's going to make that face this week and fall flat on his face. But go ahead.
That's when drinking the Underdog beer.
Absolutely. You can have the Underdog beer. I'm just telling you, Murray is... But go ahead.
No, I mean, we saw what the Commanders' defense just allowed against the Bengals.
Give me a point. Just throw a number out there. Fantasy points for Kyler Murray.
36.
Wow. So...
Has he lost his mind, Evan?
I don't know, man. But I don't understand the point of it. I mean, you're talking about Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase and talking about him like they're just a couple of scrubs.
No, I'm not saying that at all. No,
like the Commanders, what their defense allowed them to do, they allowed them to do what most teams would have those two guys do too. I don't know.
Daniels and Murray are not those two guys.
I like Kyler Murray enough. He's starting to look back like Kyler Murray 3 years ago.
You know why you guys like AR and Daniels and Murray? They're the nice little shiny.
They're flashy.
They're the flashy car in the Hot Wheels collection.
I don't like him more than 16 other guys, but I like him well enough. I got the Commanders winning this game. I think Jaden has a nice little game himself. Better than Kyler.
Ooh. I mean, I think Jaden Daniels will have a good game as well. But I do, and again, it's not like in a vacuum I'm saying Kyler Murray over Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson. I'm not saying that. But this week in particular, yeah, that's going to be my bold prediction here is QB1.
Very bold.
QB1, Kyler Murray, and top 4 wide receiver, Marvin Harrison Jr.
Wow.
And let me just shout out some love on the Cardinals side also to my guy, Michael Wilson. I was glad to see him go for some real money in free agency this week. I love Michael Wilson. I just didn't have room for him on my roster. I looked at him in the draft. I look for him in free agency every week.
Aiden O'Connell, huh?
That's right. Aiden O'Connell could be the starter he has not been ruled out as the starter for the Raiders going forward. Yeah. So yeah, I couldn't fit him in. I would have had to drop Ray for Michael Wilson. But shout out, I'm not saying start Michael Wilson this week, but he did have 8 catches last week. He is an excellent wide receiver too. He has some health problems constantly, but so far he's been healthy this year. And I love to see it. Other Cardinals, I mean, yeah, this is a shootout. You're going to start a lot of people. James Conner is a start, and Trey McBride is a start. Trey McBride any week has the potential to be tight end 1. He's not my tight end 1 this week, but he's up there.
So I did say shootout. My numbers are not going to correlate with that.
No.
I mean, my numbers are what I'm predicting fantasy. In my head, I'm like, oh, this is going to be a shootout. So saying that, I got Daniels for 175 and 1. I also have Daniels leading the rushers with 80 and 1. And I got Scary Terry for 75 and 1. As far as the Cardinals, don't start anybody. But
I like James Conner.
But if you're starting somebody, start Harrison Jr.
I like James Conner for 80-1 this week. Yeah, Harrison. Oh, he's got a questionable tag. What's up with him?
I believe Harrison's going to be 75-1. Connor is 50, and Murray right up there with those other scrubs for 175-1.
Marvin Harrison's just taking a veteran's rest.
Yeah, he's
day.
taking a veteran's rest on this
It is.
Wednesday. It says quad injury. I'm sure it's fine.
I mean, look, on the Commander side, Cliff Kingsbury is going to be in his bag for this revenge game.
Yeah.
He is going to do some crazy stuff in this game. I'm looking forward to it. For me, I've been saying stick with Terry McLaurin. I said start him last week, and he got you a big play out of it. That said, he's not a must start for me. You know, he's flex potential, but I'm not going out of my way trying to squeeze him into my lineup. When I say start, I'm usually talking about guys that outside of the quarterbacks that I'm actively trying to find a way to squeeze them into the lineup, and that's not McLaurin for me necessarily. But it is Brian Robinson, who, again, if this one quarterback experiment in Belichick himself is going to work, Brian Robinson's going to have to do something. Austin Eckler is out with a concussion, by the way. Allen, you might want to bench him, although I think your only alternative is Miles Sanders, so good luck with that.
And also, I do want to say this, guys. Most of our starts and sits are based on our league. It is a super flex league. If we start getting a whole bunch of more people on here, we will definitely break it down by regular leagues and super flex. So moving on. Whew, man, this should be the Bills and whoever they played on Monday night right here. This is the Pats and the 49ers. So we'll first start with the Pats, and I hope nobody is starting anybody. Can I get an amen?
No, you got to start Ramondre. I know Ramondre just came off.
I don't think you got to start Ramondre.
No, definitely not.
I don't see that.
I would. Yeah, I think you fit him into the lineup. I know it was awful last week. It was pretty much a goose egg last week. That said, the offense.
All right, since we're going there, Stevenson or Ford?
Stevenson.
Stevenson or the Chiefs running back?
Stevenson.
Ramondre or a chain?
Give me Devon Achane there.
Okay. I was just seeing where you were at.
Yeah, that's where I'm at. But Stevenson, I think the upside is there. And I think, honestly, like, it's weird to say he has a decent floor for a guy who just scored 0 fantasy points.
Yeah, that's a hell of a floor.
That's about the only floor you can get, but anyway.
But his normal floor is going to be a little bit better than that. Yeah, I mean, the matchup scares me.
I'm sorry.
I know.
It's going to be a little bit better. What, wait, 5?
Yeah, you could expect 2.5 out of this guy any given week.
When I look at the Patriots offense, things really do have to run through him. They kind of got away from that against the Jets, and they saw what happened. So I think they're going to correct and make it run through Ramondre Stevenson.
Or
they're
they
just
continue to do
Pat's
bad things, and they just don't figure it out.
That's an option, too. Maybe a week from now, I'm like, yeah, okay, never mind on Ramondre. For this week, though,
Sure.
I would still squeeze him in. He is literally the only Patriot. I've been saying this whole time that I'm going one quarterback this week. Jacoby is one of my quarterbacks that I do have the ability to start, and I am not going to. And I'll be really honest. I'm going to open up about the inner thought process. You know, I always carried 4 quarterbacks on all my teams, but I'm getting to this point now where I'm saying, in this desperate situation, I'm not starting Jacoby Brissett. Why do I still have him on my roster?
Well, question about this, and this is for both of y'all. This, like I said, going back to our league, going back to the draft, do you draft 2, 3, or 4?
I always draft 4.
Okay, but I'm saying the people you draft.
If I restart.
Do you just draft 2? Because I'm almost in the camp of just drafting maybe 3, but definitely 2, and waiting on that third one for a while.
My strategy the last couple of years is I get 2 up front, and then I take a flyer for a third somewhere towards the back end.
Well, what I'm getting at is, in our league, I would almost say, because I went, and I had a bad draft, but I usually try and go quarterbacks 2 out of the top 5.
Mm-hmm.
But after this year, I'm questioning that. Is there any
I like
thought to
QBs
that?
2 out of the top 2. That's my go-to.
Yeah, I mean, I usually do try to get 2 out of the top 3. Is usually for me. It was, I think, 1 and 4 were where I took my starting
You
QBs
got AJ in the second round.
because I got AJ in the second and I got Mike Evans in the third. Now, what I will say, and I've been thinking about this a lot, so I'm glad you brought it up. I would have gone earlier on QB3. I wouldn't have changed where I went on QB1 and 2,
Okay.
but I think probably going forward, what it'll be for me is once I'm through my top 60 players, I'm grabbing my third quarterback, and maybe even
before that?
fourth. No, I wasn't gonna say before
Okay.
that. Yeah, I'll get through my top 60 overall players, and then I'm grabbing QB3, whoever's top on my list, and then I'll think about going ahead and grabbing QB4 because there's no point in me having
A
Jacoby
QB4.
Brissett right now. The fourth isn't doing me any good, or he was my third actually, but he's not doing me any good because he's just too low of a ceiling. So yeah, I don't know. It's different for me, but I'm in the situation that I'm in, and I am starting to contemplate: do I just cut ties with Jacoby Brissett? If you want to send me a trade offer, go ahead.
For a guy he's fixing to cut.
I might not cut him. I'm
After
probably not
this
going to.
glowing review,
Yeah, no, it's not a good review, but some people might want to go that route. For me, I don't, and so yeah, it's either have a better QB3 or why bother.
So, Evan, while we're on this, the worst team: Rams, Pats, Panthers.
Panthers, I think.
Okay.
I think the Panthers are the worst.
Follow?
Patriots.
Patriots.
Patriots
Okay.
are by far the worst team of those 3.
So moving over, 49ers. Now, this is a questionable one. I do have Purdy for 275 and 2. I have
love
Mason
it.
for 101.
Mhm.
Who are we trusting for wide receiver? Please do not.
Ayuk.
You can't say Jennings.
No.
No, I'm going with Jennings. I'm going to roll him out again. He's not the number 1 guy by any stretch of the imagination.
You got
but if
freaking
Kittle is
lucky.
if Kittle is out and Debo's out, somebody's going to fill that ridiculous
Ayuk
role
got hope.
that Debo does, and it's not going to be Ayuk. He's
You're
gonna be
probably
down
right
the field.
because he's on my team.
Yeah,
But go
it's-
ahead.
I think no, there's not a chance Juwan Jennings does another 47-point game. Not a chance. I feel good of him reaching about that 18, 20 points, though. I think that if Debo and Kittle are both still out, he's got a role that he has already showed that he can fill in pretty well.
Welcome to the bust of the week lineup, Jawan Jennings.
I'll take that.
He's going to
Yeah.
get a tight end line, 3 for 32. Yeah, I think it's a back down to earth game. I actually think Kittle might play this week. And
that's
if Kittle does play, he's my boom tight end of the week. If he doesn't, I've got someone else that's more of a reach. But I like Kittle if he plays. And yeah, I think Ayuk is developing. It's like you said, he's had this slow start. He missed all of camp. He missed preseason. He's getting back into the flow of things. No, he doesn't play the same role as Debo, but we have seen him in the past step up when Debo is out. And I think that game is coming, and it might be, I'm not calling my shot here, but it might be this week. And yeah, of course, you're starting Jordan Mason. I'm starting Jordan Mason. He is key to my team this week. And yeah, Brock Purdy is a start.
All right, so moving on, we'll go to James' poor team, the Browns, and the even poorer Doc Raiders. So, this is an ugly game, guys.
Indeed
I
it is.
don't like it.
So, please give me some ray of hope for the Browns, first of all.
I like the way that Amari Cooper looked last week. If they can do something like that again, they got a pretty decent shot. I don't trust Deshaun Watson as far as I don't like him at all. Chubb is listed as their rusher. Is he supposed to be
Yep.
back this
Next
week?
week.
Next
Next
week.
week.
Okay.
And that's the only thing the Browns got going for them this week.
Yeah, you asked about Jerome Ford earlier. I'm not interested in Jerome Ford. He's a bench for me. Actually, for these two teams, very similar of who I would start. Their wide receiver 1 and their tight end, and that's it. So for the Browns, it's Amari Cooper and it's David Njoku.
Is he back?
I think he's
Njoku?
back.
Okay, I
Yeah.
didn't know.
I'm pretty sure he's back. And
change.
for the Raiders, it's Devontae Adams and it's Brock Bowers. It was a little disappointing last week, but still not terrible.
I like that kid. I
It's probably us
I got
giving him
that.
all the rave, and that kind of backfired. But anyway.
But yeah, that's it. I'm not interested in either backfield or either quarterback. Who
So-
knows who the quarterback's even going to be?
So saying that, I was I have Watson down for 201, but with Njoku back, I'm gonna say 250 and 2.
Okay.
Although I put no faith in Deshaun, saying that, but that's just I feel like fantasy wise that's how it's gonna be. Ford for 75 and Amari for 75 and
I'm sure
1.
I've said it on the pod before. Let's just give Jameis a shot real quick.
Yes, please.
Please put Jameis in there.
Raiders. Adams.
Adams and Bowers. That's it.
All right, I got Adams for 75 1, Zamir for 50, and Minshew for 175
I
and
think
1.
50 for Zamir is probably.
Don't you talk about
generous.
Zamir.
I don't know why you like Zamir White
be
so
quiet
much.
about
Is he even
Zamir.
still the starting running back?
I
It's
think
all
Madison's
Alexander Madison.
Yeah, Madison's been taking
Listen,
most of the work.
Look, Zamir's a good guy.
Sure.
Okay.
Bet he is.
If we talked on on the phone or something like that, I'm sure we'd be good friends.
Yeah.
So moving on to the Chiefs and the Chargers.
That's how we choose our starters, by the way.
Uh-huh.
No, I would never start Zamir on a team ever. I was just saying, he's going to be the top rusher this week with 50. So I mean, it's not like don't even look at him the right way. Chiefs and Chargers. Come on, Patty.
Yeah.
What we got?
Back at it.
So the Mahomes
Kelsey's
owner
done.
over here. How is the Mahomes owner feeling?
I have owned Mahomes in this league specifically. I've had him twice. First year that I was in the league, and this year, and they feel very similar so far. I'm hoping that this is just shaking off whatever rust that he's got on there. It's a little nerve-wracking to not see Kelsey at the level that he's been because he just doesn't have that escape valve that used to get him so many extra points.
Well, you saying that, I'm going to throw this out here. This is a buy low on Travis Kelce. And the reason I'm coming to this conclusion is he had T-Swift, he had all his commercials, he got a new cereal, he's hanging out with Jason. He's not in game shape. This week will be game shape, and he's going to be there. Just saying, buy low now. Get it in there.
I mean, if you're the Kelsey owner and want to send an offer my way, I'll evaluate it. However,
Do not trust the Emporium. Whatever you do.
I'm not high on Travis Kelce. I went out of my way to not draft Travis Kelce anywhere but best ball. I just don't think he's
not going to be the tight end one. I'm just saying he's going to
is
be
he better than any other tight end at this point.
No.
And I know what you're saying. It's coming. He's shaking off the rust. But this was what happened last year, and he didn't really shake off the rust. He wasn't this bad, but he was not his normal self until the playoffs, at which point it was too late for fantasy anyways. I'm not sure we're going to get back the Travis Kelce that you're hoping for, that you drafted. That said, you're starting him because, of course, you're starting him.
You paid that much for him. You got to.
And well, not just the draft cost of him, but, I mean, who the hell else are you going to? He's a top 12 tight end. It's just that might only be the 3 for 32.
Another great question for both of you. Superflex, we can start 2 tight ends.
I'm going 2 tight end this week.
Would you start, say it was 1 tight end league, right? Would you start Kelce or Bowers?
Bowers.
I'm going Bowers.
Okay. Yep. I was just wondering.
Yeah, I like the kid Bowers. I like the way he's been shaping up, and I think it's only up for him. But Kelce, I sure would love to see it as the guy who's starting Patrick Mahomes every week, but I just don't know if it's coming.
I think Patrick's going to be 275 and 2. I got Carson back there running for 75, and I got RR for 101.
You just like Carson Steele because he's got that alligator.
Dude,
that's really cool.
It's the flowing locks is what drives me for
he's
that.
He's not a linebacker, okay? The long blonde hair is good for white linebackers,
yeah.
but not. It's like the ginger thing.
What, Zonlane for the Lions, whatever his name is.
Alex Anzalone,
yeah.
Sweet Clay Matthews.
Yep.
There have been a lot through the years, but it's not a running back look, okay? And yeah, I'm not buying into the Carson Steele hype.
I feel he's better this week.
Maybe. I think Pirine could also get better this week.
I don't see it. I've gambled on Pirine last
with
week,
either of them.
and I don't feel good about that at all. It wasn't a bad performance for a last minute. I had nothing else to do. I think he ended up with like 9 points or something, but I
I'm
would
not
say
with either of
Carson's probably the guy.
All right.
For me on the Chiefs, it's Mahomes, obviously. It's Rashee Rice, who is Travis Kelce now, let's be real.
Yeah.
And it's still Travis Kelce just in case. Not going with Xavier Worthy this week. I can't remember if I actually wrote him as one of the busts of the week.
He's
I
too
did
boomer
not.
bust for me.
Yeah.
Like, he could go off, but he's probably not going to.
And this just doesn't feel like a game designed for him to boom.
No.
So I'm fading Xavier Worthy. On the Chargers side, I've only got one name on my list. I don't know about y'all.
JK.
Yep.
I agree. Although I got JK for 101, and Herbert 201, and Quentin for 75 and 1.
I want everyone to remember.
Quentin's the number 1 wide receiver on this team now.
Is he or is it Ladd? It's
So
hard to tell.
look, you just like Ladd.
I don't like Ladd. I really
I
don't.
believe Quentin is being touted as the number 1 guy.
He's
And
number one.
he's
Ladd's, I think, had more receptions last
Ladd
week. Now,
is-
maybe Johnston had more yards, but Ladd had more receptions.
Ladd's
Now,
not good.
I don't like Ladd. I'm not
Have
a
you-
Ladd McConkey guy.
Have you heard him talk about Ladd?
Yeah, all the time. He's always
Thank
texting
you.
me about Ladd McConkey. Ladd McConkey this, Ladd
sure.
McConkey that.
Everyone got this idea that I'm high on Ladd McConkey. I never have
He
been.
is.
I wasn't high on him in the real draft. I wasn't high on him in the fantasy draft.
Guys,
He's
if
just
y'all
not
hear a garbage truck backing up, it's
Uh-huh.
Foley.
But that said, I do think he is, and I kind of hate Quentin Johnston, so that might come into it
I
as
don't
well.
trust him
TCU,
at all.
TCU baby, let's go.
I think that dude is an awful receiver. He's
Stone
looking
hands,
a little better
man.
this year.
He just got stone hands.
All right, let's.
Anyway, yeah, JK is it for me. And what I want people to remember is last week I was like, Justin Herbert, huge bust. Guess what happened?
That's a scary remark. It really is. Moving on to the Bills and the Ravens, and this is the game of the week.
Oh, easy.
Prime time, Chris Collinsworth.
That's money right there. You know it's going to be good.
Oh, he's going to talk. Chris Collinsworth is going to go on a rant about the under center outside zone for Derrick Henry and whether they're doing it enough. He's going to talk about the 12 personnel and 13 personnel that Todd Monken is using, and I'm here for it.
How many times do you think he's going to say, this is unbelievable? I can't stand the man. This is another one of those games that there's really not much to say because it's pretty obvious who's going where, I think. And you're starting Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry, of course you are, Josh Allen. I'm going with, what's his name, Shakir?
Here, that's the question.
yeah.
What wide receiver, what pass catchers, sorry, before we get into that, a quick bit of trivia for you two. How many different people caught a pass from Josh Allen Monday night against the Jaguars?
8. How many?
Is that including the other team? Did he throw any
No,
interceptions? I didn't watch
just
it.
Bills.
Okay.
10.
10?
He threw to 10 different people.
Wow.
And so that's the question. What pass catchers are you willing to start this week?
Shakir, 100%.
I think I stick with Shakir.
But-
If I'm in that tight end graveyard, Kincaid, why not?
I'll
but-
recluse myself because I like Shakir.
You're a big Shakir
Yes. Although I do think he's the number 1 weapon.
I think he is. I mean,
Besides Kincaid.
it was weird for Keon Coleman last week where he didn't miss a lot of snaps. They didn't use him as much as normal. Like, they didn't even have him on the field. Not just he wasn't targeted.
Well, he was late to a team meeting.
I heard that.
So,
That was weird to see, though. For me,
I feel Samuel is not even.
oh yeah, no, Samuel I don't like.
Ugh.
For me, the question is, do you trust Keon Coleman? Do you trust Khalil Shakir? I don't trust either of them. However, I am this week, as part of my experiment, I am trusting Dalton Kincaid. In addition to Brock Bowers, I'm going double tight end. I said I was going to do that last week, and then I became a coward, and I pulled Kincaid at the last second. This week, I'm sticking to my guns. Kincaid's in the lineup along with Bowers.
Been doing pretty okay. I mean,
See it?
hit a bad week 1. Everybody got down on him, but I like Kincaid enough. It's tight ends, man. What are you
Yeah,
gonna
it's
do?
rough.
He is
Well,
one to go with.
I feel like personally, Kincaid is one of the top 10 tight ends in the league.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's top
Yeah.
5.
And I agree with that. I got Allen for 250 and 2. I got Cook, which I think is going to have a good game. I got him for 100, and I got Shakir for 101.
So the other thing that I'll throw out there, we've talked a lot about the too high stuff, and again, the Bills have just been doing that for so long. And Josh Allen, or not for so long, but they built their team this way that was just perfect to combat the two highs.
Because Allen runs.
And Josh Allen, man, he looks better than Mahomes this year. This year, he looks better
very
than
surprising
Patrick
to me.
Mahomes.
I know that I said to you at the draft that I was way down on Josh Allen this year. I didn't think he was going to have the looks. I just didn't feel it. But he
Well,
is
a lot of people didn't think he had the
completely-
wide receiver.
Right. That's
Yeah,
what I meant.
I
look,
was worried. I took him, and I was worried.
He is proven me wrong for sure. Josh Allen is at the top of his game right now.
The one thing that I will say is, did you guys see, just talking about this too high thing, did you guys hear Mel Kiper's big take?
I want to slap him for that.
Okay, good.
Look,
I wanted to see what
missed
y'all
it.
thought about
But
this.
look,
I missed the
between-
big take. What is
between-
it?
Mel Kiper says that we should ban too high shells from football
Why?
because it's just making the game less
it's
fun.
making the game less fun. And Mina Kimes also said the same
Oh,
junk. It's
God.
like they've never played They've never played football in their life. How do they know how this works? You don't go, well, the running back's having a hard time this year, so we're going to cancel the nose tackle and the defensive tackle
You
positions.
gotta 3 on the line max. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I mean,
it's crazy.
It's
I just want to make sure we all agree that was
it's-
crazy.
Look, and
Ridiculous.
you know, this is an ever-changing landscape as far as coaching.
Yep.
I mean,
It's
in
cyclical.
the 90s, it was the Tampa 2, and then it was Buddy Ryan's defense, and then we come to 2000s, and we have the cover 2, and all the
cover
different
three in the
all the different
2010s.
offshoots of the different cover 2, Tampa 2, and now they've you got to beat us underneath.
Yeah. And by the way, the other thing on Josh Allen, I think he's amazing. He looks as good as any quarterback in the league right here. As the Josh Allen owner, I will say the downside is there are going to be weeks where he just doesn't have to do much to win games. We saw that against Miami last week,
Yep.
and it's going to be uncomfortable then. But yeah, and on the Ravens side, I know that was a long tangent on the Bills, but on the Ravens side, yeah, I think it is pretty straightforward, right? It's Lamar, it's Derrick Henry, it's Zay Flowers.
Welcome back.
Tight end is the only thing
I'm not
talking
if-
about.
Nope. None of them.
If I could play the Welcome Back, Mr. Cotter song right now, I would do it for Derrick Henry because thank you.
Yep.
Why have you not been running this horse on the field the first couple of games? I mean, y'all saw the breakaway where he just basically implants somebody into the ground with
like prime Derrick. I mean, he was doing it.
Absolutely. Must start.
Sure. I'm
Tight
with that.
end. All right, so here's the
I'm not
question.
touching tight
Here's
ends.
the question for Tony Lee specifically that we have to answer on this podcast for Tony Lee. Fan mail. He wrote in this
Did he
question.
really?
No, he didn't really. He should have. Do you go, because he's got both of these guys. Do you
There's
start?
only one you start.
But which one do you start? Mark
Andrews.
Andrews or Isaiah Likely?
Andrews.
Yeah, I'm not touching either of them. If I had to, I'd flip a coin and go with whatever that's.
Gotta be
I'm going Likely. I'm going
Wow.
Likely.
Okay.
I think he is overtaking Mark Andrews at this point.
Interesting.
It's weird to see. I mean, what did they finish with last week? Mark Andrews had 0. Isaiah Likely had 1, or something like that. It was ugly.
I feel like at this game, the only chance the Ravens have to win is if Lamar does Lamar, Derrick Henry does Derrick Henry, and I would say Andrews does his stuff from last year, but y'all are saying Likely. So I'll just say
I'm
tight
not
end.
saying Likely. I'm saying neither.
Well,
I don't think they need them.
It
I
has
don't
to
think they
be-
need either person. I
it
think
has to
that
be a run offense.
Lamar runs left, Henry runs
That-
right,
and
and
up the
then
middle.
every now and again you put one in Zay Flowers' hands in the back of the end zone.
See, I think Zay Flowers is going to be held up by that too high. I feel the only way you're going to do anything with the Ravens is with Lamar, Henry, and the tight end. Only.
I mean, I'll still start Zay Flowers. But yeah, the Bills are the best at the too high because they've been doing it for years. Everyone else, this is new for them. They've been doing it for a long time.
All right. Let's go on to the Titans and Fins.
Grossest game of the week, isn't it?
I got Tony Pollard.
I'll
like
trade you
that.
for him.
I like Tony Pollard enough.
I'll trade you for him.
We can still just go back to that three-way trade we
I
had set
believe-
up last week.
That without Tony Pollard, I am
You're
essentially
great.
throwing in the towel on the year until Mixon gets back. Mixon gets back, we'll revisit that trade.
But I don't need that help then. I need it now.
Yeah, no, I get
Anyway, go ahead.
it.
So on the Titans side, yeah, it's literally only Pollard. DeAndre Hopkins is getting there for me, but But I will say, on my bust of the week lineup is Calvin Ridley.
Yep.
And as much as I love Will Levis, this just feels like a gross game, and I'm not interested. I wouldn't be interested in starting Will Levis even in a super flex.
The corpse of DeAndre Hopkins has been sighted in the end zone this
Yeah,
week.
you used that joke last week, but he had like
Well,
20 points.
I'm being serious though.
Yeah.
I mean, he's been found in the
Yeah.
end zone.
Yeah,
Hey,
he's
I'm
getting
not-
better.
I'm not joking.
He started off with some health problems. I mean, look, DeAndre Hopkins is one of my favorite wide receivers of all
Yeah.
time. He was up there with Evans for me at one point in terms of my personal adoration. So I'm always happy to see him do well. That said, I don't want to start him. Again, Pollard is the only one I would start in this game for the Titans.
I got Levis for 225 and 1, Pollard for just a plain old 50, and Calvin for 75 and 1. And somewhere rolling around in the back of the end zone will be the corpse of DeAndre Hopkins.
That man's still alive and well.
He's alive and kicking. All right, talk to me about the Fins, and please tell me that you're not going to start. What's the
Skyler? Any?
No,
Oh,
no,
that's the
no,
thing.
no. It's the
It's-
wide receiver.
Okay.
You know who I'm talking about.
Waddle, baby.
No, not
Um,
Waddle. It's the
oh.
other guy. I'm ready,
Tyree?
and I can't remember who.
Cheetah? Tyree?
No, it's another guy.
Oh, hell.
He has a nickname.
No, you're not talking about Robbie Chosen or no, he's
No.
not with them anymore.
Robbie yeah, I was about to say.
He's with the Bills now, actually.
Is
Uh,
he really?
yeah.
Hey, good
Bless
for
his
you,
heart.
Robbie Chosen. That guy.
Odell's out there. Is Odell even healthy yet? Anyways, it doesn't. I remember there is a weird wide receiver 3, but I can't remember who it is. What I will
It
say
doesn't
is
matter.
there's a 3-way race for who's going to play at quarterback this week for Miami. It could be Skylar Thompson if he's healthy. It could be Tim Boyle, or it could be fresh off the practice squad.
Tyler Huntley.
Tyler Huntley.
Yeah, that's who I was. I couldn't remember his name.
Oh,
It was
okay.
Tyler
Yeah,
Huntley. Yeah.
You're
You're stupid if you start Tim Boyle.
I'm not starting any.
I'm talking about Miami.
Oh, you're
Yeah.
talking about mine. Here was the weird thing, was apparently Tim Boyle beat out Mike White for the QB3 role in
How?
preseason, and they cut him. And it's like, we've seen what Mike White can do. I
Yeah.
thought he should have been the backup. But they like Tim Boyle. That said, I don't want anything to do with Boyle. I don't want anything to do with Skyler if he plays, and I don't want
like
anything.
the Dolphins much at all this week. You're
Yeah.
rolling with Achan, however it is said.
Achan.
Achan. You're rolling with that if you got it.
Do
You're
not
gonna start Tyreek
Do
Hill.
not start Hill.
You're gonna start Tyreek
I said
Hill.
I called it last week, didn't I?
Start Hill. I don't even remember what Hill's stat line ended up being. I know you said bench him. I feel like Hill had to have been better than a bench.
Yeah,
let's see.
what's his thing? It wasn't
If
good.
he finished top 48, then
PPR 7 points, 5 targets, 3 receptions, 40 yards, no touchdowns.
so that was flex worthy probably.
I mean,
Nah.
it's Tyreek Hill. It's
Yeah, I know it's
Well, I'm-
tough.
okay.
It's disappointing.
And I'm calling it again.
Don't do it.
Flex at the most.
Yeah.
I'm lower on Tyreek Hill, but I'm still saying you've got to work him into the lineup. That said, I am the Jalen Waddle owner, and I'm not starting him this week.
And-
Even with my one quarterback strategy, so I've got more flex spots open. I'm still not going Waddle this week.
Look, I'll call this a chain over Hill in your flex spot.
I would potentially agree with that. I'm not sure. I would go Hill, but it's close. But I think those two are the starters for the Dolphins.
All right, so I got the quarterback is going to have 150 and 1. Hill is going to have 50 and 1, and A-Chain to me is your only start just because of the possible breakaway he could have. But I do have him at
It's
just
a running
50.
back game. Just stay away from everything
Yes.
else. You'll be fine.
I do just
Yeah.
have him at 50 yards. Though. Moving on, Seahawks and the Lions. All right, well, I know where
Let's go
I
Lions.
know where these two guys sit.
Mhm.
So talk to me about the Seahawks.
All right, so if I'm going to talk about the Seahawks, I'm going to talk about the Seahawks defense that I drafted, and or I guess I didn't draft. I got on that first round of waivers before the season started. I've got that defense in every league, and I've not had to stream. I've been very, very pleased with that defense.
I had them in my other league, and I dropped them this week. I'm done with it. I think that they're going to continue to have great games. I don't think this is one of them. I'm starting Miami, actually, over them.
I think, yeah, I saw you pick up Miami in this league as well, I think.
I was violently just shaking my head.
I'm
But go
shaking
ahead.
my head as well. I mean, here's the thing about it, and not that I ever want to spend this much time talking about a fantasy defense,
Yeah.
but I think Goff is going to get confused, and he's going to throw a couple picks. A pick or two, I should say. Anyways, the actual relevant people, Geno, temper your expectations, but he's still a start. I think, again, if you've got Najee Harris in your super flex spot, move Geno into that spot is what I would recommend. But I do think it's a bit of a down-to-earth game for that offense as a whole. DK is an automatic start, of course, but I'm not really interested in JSN this week. JSN, bust of the week lineup for Foley. And I like JSN. He was my favorite wide receiver of that draft class. And then, I'm not interested in Tyler Lockett. And also in the bust of the week lineup is whichever running back starts. I think Ken Walker is back.
I don't know if he is.
If he's not, then Zach Charbonnet is my bust of the week in that spot. Either way, Lions' run defense is good, and I just don't like this for either running back there.
I agree with basically everything you just said.
All right.
We always agree.
Yeah.
I have Geno for 250-1. I got the running back, whomever it may be, will be 75-1. DK, like you said, 101 must start. Moving on to the Lions. This is one of these games where I feel like there's one person. But go ahead.
Ooh, I got a few here.
All right, talk to me then.
I mean, obviously, Amon-Ra.
Okay.
I don't care how his season has started. It is the sun god, and you will praise him. I'm also with David Montgomery over Jahmyr Gibbs this week. That might be a little bit of ownership bias, but I still like it.
He just gave y'all the G Gala handshake where you go, let's go, guys. Rosie Rivet, we can do it.
The Rosie Riveter is exactly right. I mean, look, for me, it's a lot of Lions I'm starting in this game. With the understanding that, this Seattle defense is tough to go against. So Uriah has a point. But I'm starting Goff. I will start both running backs, Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery. They both can eat. Amon-Ra, auto start. I'll give J-Mo a chance this week. Jameson Williams, I'll give him a chance this week. And Sam Laporta if he's healthy. There's a question right
What's
now.
What's happening with Sam Laporta, though?
He hurt his ankle. I think he's probably going to play. And he's been disappointing this year. I know. Oh, is that what you're talking about? You're not talking about. You're just talking about in general.
Just in general.
I think there's been some game plan issues.
I didn't expect him to continue on the streak that he was on last year, fully. But it feels like a huge drop off. And I guess you're the Lions guy. Does it look more like game plan or just like the script does not go in the way?
I feel like they can't stick to one thing or the other.
Yeah,
they're bouncing around.
It's not Laporta. It's Ben Johnson, the offensive coordinator, is trying to figure out, okay, now Jameson Williams is great. And Uriah's talked about this before. Jameson Williams has taken this step forward. How do we get everyone involved? I've had some criticisms of Ben Johnson, even though historically he's been amazing. And also Goff has just not been as good this year. And he's not seeing a wide open Laporta on some routes.
That's right.
However, they are, and again, I just wanted to clarify the reason I'm down on Geno and the passing game for the Seahawks. The Lions want to control the clock. That's really their identity this year, is this power run game. Even when Gibbs is in the backfield, they're not doing zone, they're going power, and they just want to control the clock, and that's just going to mean there's not as much upside for the Seahawks. But I'm starting pretty much all the Lions for the upside. Any one of them could be a dud, though.
Well, I have Goff for 225-1. I got Williams for 101. Not Amon, I'm sorry. And I got Montgomery for 75. Now, saying that with Montgomery, it's probably going to be Montgomery 75, Gibbs 68 or something like that. That's probably how the running back is going to work this week.
That's the last game, right?
That's it.
So here's something I want to throw out. Do bye weeks start next week?
I think so.
Yes.
First of all, blessedly, our podcast won't be quite as long after that.
Sorry, guys.
That was a good one.
But the other thing I will say is this is where we really start to see how well a team drafted. Have you built depth? Okay, you got
Nope.
top heavy.
Nope.
I will say,
Absolutely not. I sure didn't. But I had a hell of a start of the season.
yeah, for example, I went through every team this week and their starting lineups as things currently stand. I think Chris is the top scorer this week. I think once the bye weeks start, Chris, you're going to have some trouble if you don't figure out some depth. I think you've got a fantastic starting 11, but not much of a bench. That said, really quick, my winners and losers of the week.
Yeah.
Ugh.
It stinks that you're going to have to tell everybody that you're about to lose this game.
Welcome to Dr. Pipperville.
Yeah.
I've got Foley winning a close one against Evan, thanks to that
Yikes.
Jawan Jennings bust.
Uh-huh.
I've got James.
When Mike Evans puts up 0 points because he's injured, that'll help me out quite a lot.
I've got James over the ding dong.
What?
Shocking, I know.
Don't you down the dome?
I've got Stone over Allen. I've got Tony over Todd. Joe, you're always talking about how I talk trash about you. I've got you beating Chiquita this week.
What about if she
swaps
Geno
it?
Smith
If she
in?
swaps Geno, that's
If she
a
puts
loss.
It might change. Yeah,
It's
it
a
might
loss.
change if she swaps in Geno Smith. But right now, Joe, I've got you beating Chiquita.
Look,
and
right-
then I've got
Right now, Joe's driving on the road going, please don't hear this. Please don't hear this.
and I've got Garland beating AI Matt. No longer AI Matt.
What are these numbers that you've got?
Oh, don't even worry. It's a confusing system I've got
That's-
creating
look,
over here.
look, I
They're
just-
just a random list of numbers, no
that's
explanation.
that's not no, that's Sanskrit.
At the end, there's an
Hieroglyphs.
equal- You're just doing sums and nothing.
No. It's you
Don't
don't,
look.
you don't want to know.
Look, we'll enter into phonics, and you do not want to go into
yeah,
that
I
land.
should say
There
right
is a
there.
process there that you do not want
It's
to
like my
understand.
face is going to start melting off like Indiana Jones.
Booms of the week. I'll end with this, and then I'll shut up, and y'all can say what you want. But booms of the week: Kyler Murray, Jaden Daniels, Bijan Robinson, Saquon Barkley, Marvin Harrison, CeeDee Lamb, Justin Jefferson. I know those are obvious. Rashee Rice, George Kittle if he starts, Isaiah Likely if Kittle does not start. Busts of the week: Geno Smith, Matthew Stafford, whichever Seahawks running back it is, Joe Mixon, Cortland Sutton, Jawan Jennings, Jackson Smith and Jigba, Calvin Ridley, and tight end Pat Fryermuth.
Fair.
Look, let me just
I
say
feel
this.
like the bus they were a little bit pointed about somebody you might be playing this week or not.
Look, let me just throw this out here, guys. Next week, when he comes on here, feel free to send any mail or text or anything about how wrong
Yeah.
his
His takes on
his-
your guys.
his
were.
boom situation is, and I just want that to be on the mic.
Absolutely. I'm all for take accountability.
So signing off for this podcast, Uriah. See you later. Foley,
Peace out.
Evan,
And I'm the cute one.
go Saints.